The topic of my talk today is life in the hereafter. What does the Quran say? There are many questions which come to our mind as we live our life. What is the purpose of human creation? Why do we die? Is there a life beyond our physical death? If there is one, what will it be like? What is a human self? Why do human beings create problems for each other? And many, many more questions like this may arise in our minds as we live this earthly life. Over here I have quoted a verse from the Quran which gives the purpose of human creation and also the purpose of the creation of the universe and earth. It states, "And Allah created the heavens and earth in truth, and so that every self is recompensed for what it has earned, and no one will be treated unjustly." The verse is 22nd, chapter 45. The Quran goes on to explain this. I'll call it the Law of Requital. There are three parts of this verse. First states that Allah created the heavens and the earth in truth. That is with the purpose to take it to the end or to the aim for which it has been created. And the aim is that every human being who possesses free will, and also the intent and the power to make decisions, is held accountable for whatever they do. And the system is so precise that no injustice can be done to anyone. Iqbal on human self. Iqbal was a philosopher and a very keen student of the Quran in the early part of the 20th century in the Indian subcontinent. His lectures have been given, are published in a book form which is titled The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam. And I've taken 5 quotes from his book. First, in its essential nature, then thought is not static, it is dynamic and unfolds its internal infinitude in time like the seed, which from the very beginning carries within itself the organic unity of the tree as a present fact. The main purpose of the Quran is to awaken in man the higher consciousness of his manifold relations with Allah and the universe. This is very important here, to awaken. So Quran helps us to awaken our consciousness, to increase it, to broaden it, to make it go higher and higher. Thus the character of man's knowledge is conceptual, and it is with the weapon of this conceptual knowledge that man approaches the observable aspect of reality. Next is, the nature of the ego or the self is such that in spite of its capacity to respond to other egos, it is self-centered and possesses a private circuit of individuality, excluding all egos other than itself. Of all the creations of God, he, that is man alone, is capable of consciously participating in the creative life of his maker. Very important trait of human beings, which the Quran goes on to explain and tells the purpose of human creation. Endowed with the power to imagine a better world and to mold what is into what ought to be, the ego aspires in the interests of an increasingly unique and comprehensive individuality to exploit all the various environments on which he may be called upon to operate during the course of an endless career. I've highlighted 2 points. First is the state in which man finds the world. He makes an endeavor to make it something different. And second is that it is an endless career, that it goes beyond our physical death. First is, each one of us wishes, how do we think? Each one of us wishes to maximize his own happiness and minimize his own pain. Please remember that these are some of the points. It doesn't cover everything. It's just to give a taster. Want immediate gain or results? We recognize bad more than good. Attraction for wealth and material conveniences. Emotive, our default position is emotive. Desires which arise continuously. Greedy and selfish. Prejudice, jealousy, guilt, shame, regrets, disappointments. We are competitive. The Quran says that the trait of competitiveness has been given to you to compete in doing righteous deeds rather than just chasing our physical needs and our physical conveniences. Lack of empathy, accusing, doubts and suspicions arise continuously, particularly if we are not sure about anything. And same is fear and uncertainty is also part of us. And fear and uncertainty, which comes from death, is very, very significant. Role models for human beings, other human beings serve as role models. And normally these celebrities in modern culture, they serve as role models. The Quran gives the concept of Allah and asks us to take that as a role model by understanding the purpose of life and by understanding the hereafter and by understanding the attributes of Allah which are given in the Quran and the permanent values. So a higher being is required for the development of ourselves, because if we follow another human being, maximum is we'll become just like them. But over here, Quran is asking us to increase our consciousness so that we can not only live this life happily, but the life to come as well. The link between life and the hereafter. The human self is that entity which is referred to as I. We call ourselves I or me, and the rest we call as mine or my. For example, my property, my friends, my wife, my children, my body, and even my life. Human actions affect this I. At the time of death, whatever comes under the category of my or mine is left behind, and the I proceeds alone to the next life. Over here, a very important point, we should keep it in mind that when a child is born, it is equal to any other child in the world. It doesn't bring anything into this life. And when we die, we don't take anything with us. All the problems are between our birth and death are man-made, human-created. Main objections which people raise against the hereafter, these are not the only ones, I have jotted down some. First is, once human body dies, there is nothing left to go forward, which is a fact. There is nothing visible which we see going forward. Human birth is through the reproduction process, and this is the only way human life can be created. Allah is not capable of creating life in any other way. Now this is very important, that over here the question is not creating another life. Life within us, which we have created ourselves, already exists. So now the question is, can that life which we have created through conviction in the hereafter and making Allah as our model to live our life and then do righteous deeds for the good of everyone, can that survive our death or not? And is Allah capable of doing that or not? And the Quran, once we understand the concept of Allah given in the Quran, we can easily give that capability to Him. There is no inner self within us. In fact, denying not having an inner self within us, we actually degrade ourselves right to the animal's level. The events in human life are at random, without any order or not following any law. This human creation has no purpose. We are born, we live, and we die. This is a very animalistic concept, and over here we actually do a lot of harm to ourselves. No thinking beyond this life, as it does not suit me. That's fine. That is self-explanatory. Maslow's pyramids of needs. Maslow had created this pyramid, or the needs that once basic needs are met, then we need psychological needs, then we need self-fulfillment needs. Actually, all of these needs are the needs of every human child in this life, and then there is a question of understanding our own self, which can go on to live beyond death. So that will come after having all these needs met. Addressee of the Quran is human intellect and reasoning, powerful, rich, and elite, and religious hierarchy, because these are the people, in the absence of the permanent values of the Quran, the power lies with the rich and powerful. And Quran talks about it, right? Because Quran deals with the real situations and real issues of human life. And it says that to everyone, that since we are accountable for those deeds, and within us there is no guidance, so we are going to make mistakes, and as a result will make our own life miserable, as well as the life of everyone who lives in this life, in this world. Next is, it addresses the whole of mankind as well. It says that all mankind is equal, and they should be given time, and all their needs should be met, so that they can make decisions themselves, what they want from this life. So both paths of life, that is life ends with death or life goes beyond death should be made clear to them, and then they can make their own choices. And last is mu'mineen, those who accept Allah as a model and the existence of hereafter, which is a fact, and then do a lot of good deeds to develop their self. They are called mu'min or mu'mineen, and they are the ones who then give peace to the world, and because they are at peace with themselves as well. There are two aspects of human beings, we know it. One is a physical self, and the second one is our inner thought process based on our mind. This includes our I, emotions, desires, thinking about thinking, memory, senses. This is where we deal with values. If something is not in our memory, we can't use it. And our sense of identity, I, does not change as we live our life. Two types of accountabilities. Man has physical life, however, needs social life within a society. An individual can break the law and may not be brought to justice. An individual, even if caught, can escape justice through bribe, favor, lack of evidence, miscarriage of justice. Second is man has a self over and above the physical life. This self is affected by what man does in his life, i.e., this effect is independent of the human justice system, as one cannot escape the effect of his deeds on his self. Progressive evolution, water and clay. The Quran has pointed to this aspect of our existence and our creation, that water and clay came together, life emerged, and that it gradually over a period of time it evolved and branched off, and then human beings emerged on the scene. And through emergent evolution, they were given mind and thinking and reasoning ability. And once they are given that, then they become responsible individuals. The law of requital plus the law of respite came in to play its role. Now, important point over here is that normally people think, and the way it is projected is that somehow this evolution was carried out at its own. The Quran says, no, it was well planned, and this is the way life developed on earth. Law of requital. Every cause has an effect. In moral sphere, this is called the law of requital. Everyone gets the result of his deed. The result is only of own work, whether done individually or as part of a team. No deed can remain without a consequence. Constructive deeds produce pleasant results, and destructive deeds unpleasant results. Over here I have quoted a verse which says, "Say, O mankind, the truth has come to you from your Rabb." Rabb over here is a trait which relates to nourishment, development, and sustenance. So whoever is guided is only guided for the benefit of his own soul, for his own self, and whoever goes astray only goes astray against his own self. And balancing of deeds, we should make sure that our righteous deeds are far more than our wrong deeds, and our balance is tilted towards the righteous deeds. And we can see it at any point in time in our life. And of course, this has to be after acquiring the conviction in the hereafter and making Allah as a model, the concept which is based in the Quran. Human self. Our ability to choose means there is no inner guidance which can guide us. We need values, relative or permanent. Permanent values are those which do not change with time. These remain the same for the first man on earth and the last man on earth. So the laws don't change. Thinking comes before our actions. Our default state is emotive. Our thinking defines us. Everyone has a self which develops according to our deliberate thinking and decision making. And finally, the Quran addresses the human intellect and invites us to use our intellect and reasoning to understand its guidance. Why death? This is a deadline for the physical life to end, so it is finite. We taste death. Self will taste death. It is part of the evolutionary process going forward from physical to non-physical. It is universal and a test and challenge for ourselves to move on to a higher state of existence in the next life. According to the Quran, our hereafter commences here, i.e. in this life. Quran gives a lot of hope, a lot of happiness. Once we understand the system, then it puts responsibility on us. And once we understand the responsibility and we understand the process of acquiring Eimaan and then doing righteous deeds, then we enjoy the life the way Quran wants us to enjoy. It is not something which is working against us. Taking responsibility under the law of requital is not something negative. This is the way the system functions. So we should understand that. And even from academic point of view, those who are not interested in in going in this direction can go through it and see for themselves that how what a refined way the whole system is explained. The next life, the Quran says everyone will survive in the hereafter. It is forever. There is no time limit on that. Just imagine the beauty of their life, that on this 60, 70 or 30, 40 lives of righteous deeds after acquiring Eimaan, that how much reward or how much creative activity is awaiting us. The state in which we leave this life, this will be the state in which next life will commence. There are stages of development, no stagnation in the next life. Stagnation even over here is like death. There is creative activity and no monotony. We'll get whatever wish for. This is a big subject in its own right, and I'll deal with it in another talk. Not likely to have gender, as it is based on the inner self. Not this physical form, new form, as there is no death. Death is meant for this body, not for the human self. And that is why this body will not be there in the next life. That is why we don't need this body, and we will go on to the next life as part of our inner self. Conclusions: this universe is for us. We as human beings give meaning to the creation. Death is universal and is for the physical body. We are defined by both physical body and our inner self as far as this life is concerned. At a human level, at a human self level, life is one continuity. Survival after physical death is for all human beings. Development of ourself is within our own grasp and is based on the accountability. The important point Quran emphasizes is that once we create our Eimaan, our own conviction, and then we, through righteousness, develop our own self, this is achieved by us. Nobody can take it away. And we know that we are different from what we used to be. So this is an important point, that Quran serves as an external criteria for us to gauge our deeds, gauge ourselves, judge ourselves, and of course judge others as well. So it is not otherworldly. The reality exposes itself, becomes known to us before death. So we should not wait to find out about the reality after our death. So this is an opportunity to find out reality before death. Finally, thank you for watching. If you have any question or query on the issues mentioned in this presentation, please go to islamicdawn.com.